carts that carry food trays and the trays themselves are usually contaminated from handling and coughing. Cooks and other food handlers can easily infect the food by not washing properly after using the bathroom. Doctors and nurses are just as guilty as other staff. Doctors rarely clean their stethoscopes after each patient. Nurses apply blood pressure cuffs to patient after patient without cleaning the cuffs. Doctors often put on gloves without washing their hands first. As a result, the germs on their hands are transferred to the outside of the gloves. Consumer groups warn patients that they must demand cleanliness. If they see or suspect unsanitary conditions, they must tell someone immediately. It could be a matter of life or death. But, as one patient said, "No way! You don't tell your boss that he has bad breath, and you don't tell your doctor that he needs to wash his hands." Johnny asked Dottie how her first day in her Duarte ESL class was. It was terrible, she told him. She understood little of what the level 4 teacher said. He spoke too fast for her. She had struggled through a level 3 class at a Monrovia school. When the teacher asked if there were any questions, she told him that she didn't understand most of what he had said. He told her not to worry. She could take the class again if she failed it the first time. She didn't want to fail it the first time, however, or any time. He gave them homework the first day, of course. They were supposed to write a 300-word essay supporting gun control. Of course, Dottie said, she could write that essay in her native language, but there was no way she could write it in English. She showed Johnny the textbook. The print was so tiny that trying to read just a few pages gave her a headache. On top of that was all the new vocabulary on each page. "I'm going to drop the class," she said. She wanted to cry. When was she ever going to learn this language? Tourists from around the world visit Hollywood. Buses take them past the Hollywood sign. At Grauman's Chinese Theater, they press their hands into the imprints of movie stars who long ago pressed their hands into wet cement. Tourists pause at the gold stars in the sidewalks with the movie stars' names on them. Buses drive past movie stars' houses. Tourists hope to see a star chatting with friends or tanning by the pool. Unfortunately, most of the houses are behind high hedges or down long winding driveways. Tourists are lucky to even see a chimney. And finally, tourists take pictures everywhere and with everyone. A popular picture opportunity in Hollywood is with movie characters like Chewbacca from Star Wars. However, Chewbacca might not be so popular anymore. Last week, outside Grauman's, Chewbacca gave two young female tourists a hard time. He kept trying to hug them as they took pictures of each other. The tour bus driver yelled at Chewbacca to leave the ladies alone. Chewbacca took off his headpiece, walked over to the driver, and head-butted him. The driver fell to the sidewalk. Someone called 911, and the cops came and arrested Chewbacca. Chewbacca was not apologetic. "Women come to America looking for Prince Charming, and here I am," he shouted to all. "I hope they leave him in jail," said a tourist who saw the whole incident. "That guy's an idiot." Nowadays, Geico is a well-known insurance company. For many years, however, it was unnoticed. Other companies, like Allstate and Farmers, were more popular. Then Geico tried something different. It got a new ad agency. The owner of the agency, Billy Ray Childers, was from Virginia. Years ago, he had tried to start his own agency in Manhattan, but when New Yorkers heard his southern accent, they gave him the cold shoulder. Angry, Billy Ray returned to Virginia. Someday, he hoped to teach those New Yorkers a lesson. He set up his new ad agency in Raleigh. Then he called up Geico headquarters in New York. He told them that they could improve their sales if they used a gecko to advertise Geico. They balked at first, but then approved his ad campaign. In the new commercial, the animated lizard said, "I'm a gecko, not a Geico." Geico was originally going to do one TV commercial with the bright green lizard and then retire it. But viewers, especially women, fell in love with the cute gecko, so Geico decided to do a few more commercials, and then a few more. The clever lizard with the British accent is now 8 years old and stars in a new commercial every several months. It has made Geico famous, almost as famous as the gecko itself. They say that Los Angeles is changing. In the past 2 weeks, a young woman was shot, and then her body was dropped off on a sidewalk and set on fire. This happened in broad daylight in a nice neighborhood. Another young woman's body was found lying in a dumpster. The decomposed body of another young woman was found in a park. An 8-year-old girl was standing with her mom in the kitchen when a bullet from a gang member's gun killed her. The little girl and her mom had just arrived in America. The gang member was shooting at other gang members in the street outside. A hospital van driver pushed a paraplegic out of the van onto a Skid Row sidewalk and drove off. A mentally ill patient in a nursing home was slapped repeatedly by a staff member. The staff member's buddy took a cell phone video of the assault. It showed the staffer laughing as the patient cried. A local TV station reporter went to a huge produce warehouse and filmed a worker urinating on a platform right next to boxes of fresh lettuce. Rats were shown walking throughout the warehouse and nibbling on the produce. Every day, this produce is distributed to hundreds of unsuspecting restaurants and supermarkets in Los Angeles. LA is changing all right, for the worse. It's a big country, but still, how can anything be left of Iraq? When you look at the news on TV, all you see is one explosion after another. Helicopters falling from the sky and vehicles flying into the sky. Suicide bombers committing homicide and two deeply religious sects going at each other's throats. Iraqis are leaving the country as fast as they can, while terrorists are entering as fast as they can. About 30,000 Iraqi civilians are getting killed each year, while 2 million Iraqis have left their country since 2003. The U.S. government, which has caused most of this suffering, has not welcomed these Iraqi refugees into the USA. Less than 800 Iraqis have been allowed to enter this country since the war began 4 years ago. What is the reason for this small number? The Iraqi people are our friends. The U.S. government tried to rescue Iraqis from Saddam Hussein and bring them democracy. Now there is no Saddam, but also there is no democracy. In the future, there might even be no Iraq. Many people worldwide and many Iraqis think that Iraq was better off before Bush and Cheney decided to help. The local TV news showed a video of a man dressed in coveralls, a baseball cap, a long-sleeved shirt, and gloves. He was pointing a gun at the clerk. He reached over the countertop and grabbed money out of the cash register. Then he strolled out of the store. Since they outnumber Los Angeles police by about 1,000 to 1, criminals don't bother to run anymore. The video camera was mounted near the ceiling of the store, so its lens was looking down at the scene. You, as the viewer, could see the clerk clearly, but not the criminal. He was so bundled up that you couldn't see even the tip of his nose. Because there was no audio, you couldn't even be sure if the criminal was a man or a woman. Yet, the TV news announcer earnestly asked all the viewers, "If you have seen this robber, or if you know who he is, please call the LAPD." To be fair to the TV station, they showed the same useless video at least 6 times in 2 days. The LAPD got 0 phone calls. At other times, the TV newsreaders will give viewers a much better description. The suspect is about 5'8", 170 pounds. This description also results in no arrests. This traffic report is sponsored by Cerritos Auto Square. More people buy their car from Cerritos Auto Square than anywhere else in the world. KFWB News Time, 8:01, with traffic on the ones. A cleanup is still underway from a SIG alert in Commerce, northbound at Washington Boulevard. The right lane is closed, and also the Washington on-ramp is closed. They're mopping up from an earlier diesel fuel spill. We have several other problems out there right now. In Pasadena, some wooden boxes are in the number 1 lane on the eastbound 210 at Lake. Be on the lookout, because the faster you're going, the quicker you'll come up on them. Eastbound 60 in Santa Fe Springs, just before Grand Avenue, there's an accident. A couple of cars in the number 2 lane. Then in Pacoima, 118 westbound after San Fernando Road, an injury accident. A car went over the side. It's partly hanging over the side of the freeway. CHP and emergency crews are both on the way, so watch for activity on the right shoulder. In Vernon, 710 northbound before Bandini, watch for a broken down car on the right shoulder. It's partly sticking into the right lane. A tow truck is en route. Finally, on the westbound 10 before Fairfax, there's a roll of carpet, a ladder, and a lawnmower in the number 3 and 4 lanes. This news report is sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield. There's some serious problems in Arkansas. High winds and a tornado have sliced through portions of southern Arkansas. People have been injured, and some residents are still unaccounted for. Emergency Coordinator Bob Holly says rescue workers are on the case. We had 2 ambulances set out first, and then when they saw the damage, that's when they called in the troops. Homes and businesses have been destroyed near a major highway at Dumas. A massive winter storm is sweeping through the plains and upper Midwest. It's dumped more than a foot of snow in northern Wisconsin. 7 people were killed on slippery roads, and 100,000 customers have no power in Iowa, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. Locally, police are trying to find a man who sexually assaulted a woman in Alhambra. She described the suspect as about 5'11", medium build, wearing blue jeans, a black jacket, black gloves, brown shoes, and a dark-colored ski mask covering his face. The woman was waiting for friends inside an apartment when the man entered through an unlocked door. He had a gun, sexually assaulted her, and then took her cell phone and left. The woman is in a local hospital. If you have seen this man, please call the Alhambra police. Finally, 1 person was killed when a high-speed train derailed near London. The cause is being investigated. Every Monday night, Felix checked the big blue container in the carport behind his apartment building. If the container was at least a third full, he would take it out to the street for pickup. Monday night, it was 2/3 full. He rolled it out into the street. The next day, he checked the container. It was still almost full of recyclables. That was odd, because all the other blue containers across the street were empty. He could tell because a couple of lids were open. He walked across the street to double-check. He wondered. Then he looked up his side of the street. There were 2 blue containers standing there. He walked about 120 feet up the street and lifted each lid. Both containers were empty. How could the truck have missed his container? He went upstairs to his apartment and called City Hall. They connected him to the Public Works Department. Susan said she would call Acme Trash to let them know about the missed container. On Wednesday, Felix checked the container again. It was still full, but the big green dumpster in the carport was missing. Apparently, the message that Susan sent to Acme Trash had been misunderstood. Acme picked up the big green dumpster, which had already been emptied on Tuesday, instead of the blue container. Felix left a message on Susan's answer machine saying to forget it. Then he went downstairs and pulled the almost full container back into its space in the carport. Let it sit there till next Tuesday, he told himself. Had he left another message, he was worried that his building would accidentally get dropped permanently off Acme's pickup list. Colleen was in a hurry, which made her driving even more careless than usual. Her boyfriend Simon had already criticized her many times for failing to stop completely at stop signs. That's what they call a California or rolling stop, he told her.